The Federation starship Horizon cut through Zephiria's violet skies, its sleek hull reflecting three distant suns. Inside, Commander Alex Reed adjusted his formal uniform for the 10th time, wondering why they'd sent a soldier on a diplomat's errand. "Final approach," announced the pilot. "Try not to start an interplanetary incident down there, Commander." Alex ran a hand through his short brown hair. "Your confidence is touching." His mission sounded simple: deliver condolences and a security proposal to Princess Varia following King Talon's death. But nothing about this felt routine. The Federation didn't send combat veterans on sympathy calls, especially not to distant worlds like Zephyria. "Just deliver the message and leave," Alex muttered. "No complications." The ship landed with barely a sound. Alex squared his shoulders and walked down the ramp into warm alien air. What he saw made him momentarily forget his carefully rehearsed speech. Princess Varia stood waiting, her turquoise skin glowing in the sunlight. Her silver-blue hair cascaded in waves adorned with tiny crystals that chimed softly with each movement. But her eyes captivated him most, golden with flecks of amber that studied him with unmistakable intelligence. "Commander Reed," she said, her voice musical and lilting. "Welcome to Zephyria. I hope space travel wasn't too dull for a man of action." Alex bowed formally, thankful for military training that kicked in despite his distraction. "Princess Varia, the Federation Council extends its deepest sympathies for your loss. Your father was highly respected throughout the galaxy." Something flickered across her face, genuine grief quickly masked by royal composure. "Thank you, Commander. Please follow me. We can speak privately in the palace." As they walked, Alex struggled not to stare. The princess moved with natural grace, her formal attire, a close-fitting silver and blue ensemble, catching the light with each step. Royal guards flanked them silently. "I expected the Federation to send someone in formal diplomatic attire, not combat boots," Varia said as they passed through crystal archways. "Typically, we receive diplomats, not warriors." Alex smiled slightly. "These are unusual times, Your Highness." "Indeed they are," she replied with a knowing look. "My father used to say interesting times are the universe's way of keeping us alert." She led him into a royal study filled with both ancient artifacts and advanced technology. Alex delivered his message, carefully observing her reaction, as he outlined the Federation's proposal for increased military presence, supposedly for Zephiria's protection, following the king's death. When he finished, Varia studied him silently, those remarkable golden eyes never leaving his face. "Commander Reed," she finally said, "your message has been delivered. But I suspect there's more to this sudden Federation interest in our world than mere concern for our safety." Alex maintained his diplomatic face. "The Federation values all member worlds equally, Your Highness." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Oh, please. We both know that's about as true as saying space is warm and cozy." She rose with fluid grace. "Perhaps we might speak more honestly after you've rested. Would you care to see something few outsiders have ever witnessed?" Before he could respond, she was already moving toward a hidden door at the back of the study. "My ancestor's legacy awaits, Commander," she called over her shoulder. "Unless you're afraid of a little adventure." Her playful challenge sparked something in him. Alex had never been good at refusing a challenge. "Lead the way, Your Highness," he said, following her through the doorway. "Though I should warn you, the last person who accused me of being afraid ended up with a broken nose." "I'll take my chances," she replied with a smile that made his heart beat faster. They descended a spiraling staircase deep into the palace. The passage was lit by soft blue lights embedded in the walls. "Where exactly are we going?" Alex asked, increasingly aware they were alone. "To the Chamber of Relics," she replied, "where we keep the treasures from our golden age, before we became just another dot on the Federation's star charts." The bitterness in her tone was unmistakable. Alex wondered if he'd completely misunderstood the situation. His briefing had portrayed Zephyria as a grateful, compliant member world. They emerged into a vast circular chamber, illuminated by ethereal blue light. Display cases containing strange devices lined the walls, while in the center stood what appeared to be a suit of armor on a raised platform, dusty and seemingly forgotten. "Behold," Varia said with a theatrical wave, "the glorious past of Zephyria, when we were inventors and explorers, not just a convenient fueling station for your Federation ships." Alex approached one of the display cases, genuinely intrigued. "This technology, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." "That's because it predates your Federation by thousands of years," she replied, moving beside him. Her proximity sent an unexpected jolt through his system. "My ancestors understood sciences your people are only beginning to theorize about." "And yet Zephyria joined the Federation," he observed. "Not by choice," she said quietly. Then, brightening, she gestured toward the central display. "That ancient armor belonged to our greatest guardian, Kalor. Legend says it chose its wearer, not the other way around. No Zephyrian has been able to activate it for generations." Alex studied the ancient suit. Despite its apparent age, something about its design seemed oddly familiar. Varia's lips curved into a mischievous smile. "Would you like to try it on, Commander? Just for fun?" "Is that appropriate?" he asked, sensing a test. "It's just a dusty old relic now," she said dismissively. "Nothing happens when Zephyrians touch it. Maybe human hands will provide some entertainment. At worst, you'll look silly, and I could use a good laugh." Alex approached the armor, aghast. "Well, I've done dumber things to make a pretty woman smile." As his fingers brushed against the dusty breastplate, something impossible happened. Blue energy suddenly coursed across the armor's surface, illuminating intricate patterns. The entire suit began to vibrate, then disassemble itself before his astonished eyes, individual pieces floating momentarily before rushing toward him. "What the?" was all he managed before the armor started attaching itself to his body, perfectly conforming to his human physiology despite being designed for a different anatomy. The sensation was bizarre, like being hugged by living metal that somehow felt warm instead of cold. Across the chamber, Princess Varia stood frozen, one hand raised to her lips in shock. "That's not supposed to happen," she whispered. As the helmet settled over his head, Alex felt a surge of energy course through his entire body. Information flooded his mind. Star charts, weapon schematics, battle strategies from civilizations long extinct. When he finally found his voice, it emerged altered by the helmet's systems. "Princess, what exactly is happening to me?" Their eyes met across the chamber, his now glowing blue through the helmet's visor, hers wide with disbelief. "The prophecy," she breathed. "All this time we thought it referred to a Zephyrian savior." "What prophecy?" Alex demanded. Before she could answer, an alarm blared throughout the palace. Varia's communication device chimed urgently. "Your Highness," a panicked voice reported, "unknown vessels have breached our orbital defenses. They've deployed landing crafts." Varia's expression hardened. "It seems, Commander Reed, that your Federation's protection arrives too late. We're under attack." The palace shook as an explosion rocked the upper levels. Dust and crystal fragments rained down from the ceiling. "We need to get to the surface," Alex said, his voice resonating strangely through the helmet. The armor felt impossibly light, responding to his movements as if it were part of him. Information continued to flood his consciousness, tactical data, power readings, weapon systems he'd never imagined. Varia grabbed his armored forearm. "Wait, you don't understand what's happening to you. What that armor means." "Explanations can wait," he replied, already moving toward the spiral staircase. "Your people are under attack." She stepped in front of him, her golden eyes locking with his through the helmet's visor. The armor chose you, Alex. After centuries of dormancy, it recognized something in you. This isn't coincidence. Another explosion. Closer this year. The chamber's lights flickered. Fine. Quick version, he conceded. The prophecy speaks of an outsider who would awaken our greatest weapon in our darkest hour, she explained rapidly. We always assumed it meant another Zephyrian from beyond our system, never a human. Alex felt the armor adjusting, calibrating itself to his body. And this armor is the weapon? It's much more than armor, Varia said, her voice dropping to a reverent whisper. It's the culmination of my ancestors' highest technological achievements, designed for a single purpose. Which is? To fight the shadows. Her expression darkened. The same creatures that are attacking us now. They emerge from the spaces between dimensions, drawn to worlds rich in life energy. They've hunted my people for millennia. The armor suddenly projected information directly into Alex's mind. Ancient battles, terrifying creatures of darkness, civilizations fallen to their hunger. How do you know it's them? He asked, though something deep within the armor's programming was already confirming her words. Their energy signature is unmistakable, she replied, checking a small device on her wrist. Our sensors detected their dimensional rifts opening in a orbit. They haven't attacked Zephyria in generations. Not since we joined your federation and became less interesting to them. Alex processed this information against his briefing. Nothing about dimensional creatures had been mentioned. Either Federation intelligence is completely clueless, or someone's been keeping secrets, he muttered. Show me how to reach the surface, he said. I need to see what we're dealing with. She led him to a transport tube that took them directly to the Defense Command Center. The tube ascended rapidly. In the confined space, Alex became acutely aware of Varia's proximity. The armor seemed to enhance all his senses, the subtle floral scent of her hair, the warmth radiating from her turquoise skin. She must have noticed his attention, because her lips curved into a knowing smile, despite the dire circumstances. The armor responds to your emotional state as well, Commander. Your vital signs are elevated. Alex cleared his throat. Professional concern for the situation. Of course, she replied, her tone making it clear she didn't believe him. The transport tube opened to reveal a scene of a controlled chaos. Zephyrian officers monitoring defensive systems, communication channels alive with urgent reports. Your Highness. An older male rushed forward. The palace shields are holding, but the city's outer defenses have been breached. The shadows are deploying ground forces. Admiral Ranok, this is Commander Reed. Varia introduced. He has activated the ancestral armor. The Admiral's eyes widened, taking in the glowing blue patterns across Alex's armor. Impossible. No outsider could. Evidently this one could, Varia interrupted, and according to the prophecy that makes him our best hope. No pressure or anything, Alex muttered, then stepped forward. I need to see what we're fighting. A large viewing screen displayed the city's outskirts. Dark, shifting forms moved through the streets, creatures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Where they touched, organic matter withered and deceased. The shadows consume life energy, Varia explained quietly. They leave nothing but husks behind. As Alex watched, something stirred within the armor, and within him, a deep primal recognition. The armor had been created to fight these specific enemies, and it was now feeding him the knowledge of how to do so. I know how to stop them, he said, surprising himself. Varia turned to him, hope flickering in her eyes. Then we fight together, Commander. Your Highness, Admiral Ranok interrupted. The royal protocols are clear. You must retreat to the secure sanctuary. Those protocols were written before the prophecy was fulfilled, she countered, never taking her eyes off Alex. My place is with our guardian. The word guardian sent an unexpected thrill through Alex. The armor responded, power surging through its circuits. I don't know if I qualify as a guardian just yet, he said. Last time I checked, my resume just said, shoots things, follows orders, occasionally. Despite the tension, Varia's lips twitched with amusement. She stepped closer, placing her hand on his armored chest. The armor doesn't make mistakes, Alex. It saw something in you that no one else could. The intimacy of her touch, even through the armor, sent another surge of energy through the suit's systems. Alex was beginning to suspect the armor's response to his attraction to the princess wasn't coincidental. Then let's not disappoint your ancestors, he replied. Or you. Her answering smile was both fierce and alluring. I'm counting on it, Commander. They reached the palace's outer defensive position, where soldiers were mounting a desperate defense. Beyond the energy barriers, the shadowy forms moved like living darkness, absorbing everything in their path. Your Highness, a soldier saluted. The eastern barrier is failing. We can't hold them much longer. Varia turned to Alex. Now would be an excellent time to demonstrate those newfound abilities. Right. No pressure. Just save the world on your first day wearing magical alien armor, Alex muttered, then stepped forward. He instinctively raised his hand toward the wavering barrier. The armor responded instantly, channeling energy through his arm and projecting it outward. The failing shield suddenly strengthened, glowing with renewed intensity. Impressive, Varia murmured. That was just reinforcement, Alex replied, surprised at how naturally the knowledge came to him. Let's see what else this suit can do. He stepped through the barrier, feeling it part around him like otter. Varia followed, ignoring the protests of her guards. The moment they crossed the threshold, several shadows sensed their presence and surged forward, amorphous dark forms with glowing points where eyes might be. They're drawn to life energy, Varia warned, and you're practically radiating it right now. Story of my life. I've always been irresistible to the wrong crowd, Alex quipped. He extended both arms, and brilliant beams of concentrated energy shot forth, striking the approaching shadows. Where the energy touched, the creatures shrieked, a sound like metal tearing. Portions of their shadowy forms dissipated. It works, he exclaimed, advancing forward. Alex, be careful, Varia called. The armor draws power from your life force when you use offensive capabilities. He barely registered her warning as he engaged more of the creatures, feeling a surge of exhilaration with each successful attack. The armor moved with him perfectly, anticipating his intentions. Only after dispatching a dozen shadows did he notice the drain, a deep fatigue spreading through his muscles, a heaviness in his limbs that hadn't been there moments before. You need to pace yourself, Varia said, suddenly at his side again. She held some kind of energy weapon. The armor will consume you if you let it. You could have mentioned that earlier, he grunted, feeling another wave of exhaustion as he blasted a shadow that had gotten too close to her. Would it have changed your decision to fight? She asked. No, he admitted, but I might have packed an energy drink or two. Her lips curved into that knowing smile again. Humans and their heroic impulses, so predictable, yet somehow still fascinating. Despite the battle raging around them, Alex found himself responding to her teasing tone. Is that what you find fascinating about humans? Our heroic impulse? Among other qualities, she replied, firing her weapon at an approaching shadow. They fought their way through the city streets, pushing back the shadow advance. With each energy blast Alex unleashed, he felt more of his strength ebbing away. But the results were undeniable. After an hour of intense combat, they reached a momentary lull. Alex leaned against a wall, breathing heavily. The armor's systems were flashing warnings, energy reserves depleting, biological host showing signs of critical fatigue. Varia approached, concern evident in her expression. You need to rest. The armor is draining you too quickly. Can't stop now, he managed. We're making progress. She placed her hand on his armored chest, and to his surprise, he felt the touch as if there were nothing between them. The armor enhances all sensations, she explained, noticing his reaction. Another feature our ancestors built in to keep the wearer connected to their physical self. Her hand remained on his chest, and Alex became acutely aware of how close she was standing, how her eyes seemed to glow in the dim light of the devastated street. There are ways to replenish the energy the armor consumes, she said, her voice dropping to a more intimate register. I'm listening, Alex replied. Our ancestors discovered that certain intense experiences generate exceptional amounts of life energy, Varia continued. Combat is one such experience. Fear is another. And? Alex prompted when she paused. And there are more pleasurable methods, she finished, her gaze direct and unambiguous. Princess, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? He asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. I'm being practical, Commander, she replied, though her smile belied the clinical nature of her words. The bond between the armor and its wearer is sacred to my people. In ancient times, it was common for the chosen guardian to enhance their connection through ritual unity with a royal consort. And you're volunteering for this ritual? Alex asked. I mean, we just met. I haven't even bought you dinner yet. Varia's expression became more serious, though amusement still danced in her eyes. My people are dying, Alex. If there's a way to strengthen you, to give you the energy you need to safely save them, do you really think I'd hesitate because of some outdated notion of propriety? Before he could respond, his armor's sensors alerted him to movement nearby. A larger shadow, different from the others they'd encountered, was approaching. We have company, he warned, straightening despite his exhaustion. Varia glanced in the direction he indicated and paled visibly. A shadow lord? We need to retreat now. She grabbed his arm. There's a sanctuary nearby. We can regroup there. By the time they reached the hidden entrance, Alex was barely staying upright. The moment the door sealed behind them, he collapsed to his knees. Alex, Varia knelt beside him, her hands moving to the release mechanisms on his helmet. The armor is killing you. We need to get it off. No, he gasped. Without it, I can't fight them. Without you, the armor is useless, she countered, successfully removing his helmet. The cool air on his face was a shock after hours enclosed in the suit. You need energy, she whispered, her face now very close to his. And I know exactly how to give it to you. The sanctuary was actually an ancient temple, its walls inscribed with symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. Alex lay on a stone altar at its center, the armor still encasing most of his body, except for his head and hands. This place is sacred to my people, Varia explained, lighting ceremonial lamps, a nexus point where the energy of our world flows most strongly. The armor, it's showing me things, Alex said suddenly. The shadows, they're searching for something hidden in the palace. What could they possibly want? Varia knelt beside him, her cool fingers brushing his fevered brow. The heart of Zephyria, he whispered, the name coming to him from the armor's ancient memory. A power source created by your ancestors. The armor was designed to protect it. Varia's eyes widened. The heart is just a legend, a mythical crystal said to contain the essence of our world's core. My father spent decades searching for it. It's real, Alex insisted, and somehow connected to humans. That's why the armor chose me. Your ancestors visited Earth thousands of years ago. They left something of themselves there, in our genetic code. Understanding dawned in Varia's eyes. That's why the armor chose you. You carry the bloodline of my ancestors within you. A deliberate safeguard. Alex nodded. They knew the shadows would return someday. They needed a failsafe, someone who could activate the armor if your people forgot how. So humans are distant cousins to Zephyrians? more like hidden descendants of a specific lineage, a warrior caste, your ancestors' emergency backup plan. Alex attempted to sit up, but failed, the armor suddenly feeling like it weighed tons. Varia, I can't fight like this. The armor's draining me faster than I can recover. Her expression shifted, determination replacing shock. Then we proceed with the ritual. If what you're saying is true, our connection may be even more powerful than I thought. She began removing the silver ornaments from her clothing. The ritual requires skin contact with the armor's neural interfaces, she explained. The armor responded immediately, reconfiguring itself to expose specific points along his chest and arms, glowing blue nodes that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. These are the transfer points, Varia explained, placing her hands on two of the glowing nodes. I channel my life energy into you through the armor systems. The moment her turquoise skin touched the nodes, Alex gasped. The sensation was electric, a rush of warmth and energy flowing into him from her touch. That's... wow, he managed. Varia's lips curved into a smile. We've barely begun, Commander. She leaned closer, her silver blue hair falling around them like a curtain. In ancient times, this ritual was considered the highest honor for both participants, a sacred union of guardian and royal blood. Is that what we're doing? Alex asked, his voice rough. Creating a sacred union? We're saving your life, she replied, though her eyes conveyed deeper meaning. And possibly my world. The rest, youth, we'll figure out afterward. What followed transcended physical experience as Varia initiated the full ritual. Their energies intertwined in ways Alex couldn't have imagined. The armor served as both conduit and amplifier, transforming their connection into something that bridged the gap between their species. When they finally separated, both breathing heavily, Alex felt completely transformed. Energy coursed through him, the armor now feeling weightless, responsive to his slightest thought. That was, he began, unable to find adequate words. Unprecedented, Varia finished, her golden eyes glowing with residual energy. The armor's power levels are higher than I've ever seen in the historical records. Alex sat up easily, flexing his armored hands. I feel like I could take on an entire army of those shadow creatures. A comfortable silence fell between them, filled with new understanding and unspoken acknowledgement of the bond they had forged. The Shadow Lord will be tracking us, Alex said. And if what the armor's showing me is correct, it won't stop until it finds the heart. Then we need to find it first, Varia said. If my father couldn't locate it after decades of searching, it must be hidden somewhere unexpected. Alex closed his eyes, allowing the armor's ancient knowledge to flow through him. Not unexpected, sacred. The most sacred place in the palace. The royal throne? Varia breathed. Of course, it's been sitting there in plain sight all along. The throne is the heart? Not exactly. The throne sits upon a platform made of our world's rarest crystal. My father always said it was symbolic, the ruler drawing strength directly from Zephyria itself. Her eyes lit with excitement. But what if it's not symbolic at all? What if the platform contains the heart? Alex stood, the armor adjusting perfectly to his movements. We need to get back to the palace before the Shadow Lord figures it out. Varia approached him, placing her hand on his armored chest. The touch still sent a current of energy between them, an echo of their ritual connection. What we shared, she said quietly. It wasn't just about restoring your strength. I know, he replied, covering her hand with his. And when this is over, I'd like to explore what it means, preferably without the fate of the world hanging in the balance. I'd like that too, she said softly. A distant explosion shook the temple, breaking the moment. They're getting closer, Varia said, retrieving her weapon. Are you ready to face a Shadow Lord? Alex activated his helmet, which formed smoothly around his head. Through the visor, he gave her a confident smile. Ready as I'll ever be. Let's go save your world together. They moved swiftly through the devastated streets, the armor enhancing Alex's speed and strength. As they approached the royal district, the devastation grew worse. Entire buildings had been reduced to rubble, and the beautiful gardens that had surrounded the palace were withered and blackened. They paused at the edge of the palace grounds. The once magnificent structure was partially collapsed, dark energy swirling around its towers like malevolent storm clouds. I can sense the hostages, Alex said suddenly, the armor providing tactical information. They're in the throne room along with the Shadow Lord. It must suspect something about the throne, Varia replied. Alex studied the palace, the armor's systems highlighting potential entry points and threats. He stopped abruptly as the armor's sensors detected a new presence, a cold, ancient intelligence probing at the edges of his awareness. It knows we're here, he whispered. The Shadow Lord. It can sense the armor. Varia's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. The contact sent another surge of energy between them, strengthening their connection. Then we abandon stealth, she said, her golden eyes fierce in the darkness. We go in together, at full power. Alex nodded, feeling the armor responding to his rising determination, and to something else, the powerful emotional connection he'd formed with Varia. The system seemed to draw strength from it, amplifying his abilities. Together, he agreed. With that promise hanging between them, they moved toward the palace and the confrontation that awaited. No longer just a human warrior and an alien princess, but something new. Partners bound by choice, sacrifice, and an unexpected connection that transcended their different worlds. The grand doors of the throne room had been warped by dark energy. Alex placed his armored hand against them, feeling the corruption trying to seep into the suit's systems. The armor's shielding me from whatever did this, he told Varia, but it won't be pleasant inside. With a surge of enhanced strength, he pushed the doors open. The scene that greeted them was nightmarish. The once magnificent throne room had been transformed into a dark parody of itself. Black energy tendrils snaked across the walls and ceiling. The hostages, Admiral Ranok and a dozen palace guards, were suspended in shadowy cocoons along the walls, their life force visibly draining into the center of the room. There, upon the platform where the royal throne had stood, floated the Shadow Lord. Unlike its lesser minions, the creature had a definite form, a tall, spindly silhouette with elongated limbs and a crown-like crest of darkness atop its head. Where a face should be, there was only a swirling vortex of deep purple energy. The throne itself had been partially dismantled. The crystal platform beneath it cracked open to reveal a pulsing blue core, the heart of Zephyria. We're too late, Varia whispered. It's found the heart. The Shadow Lord turned toward them, its faceless void somehow conveying malevolent amusement. The chosen guardian arrives, it spoke, its voice like grinding stone, with his consort. How predictable. Yeah, well, not all of us can be mysterious shadow monsters, Alex retorted, stepping forward with the armor humming with power. Release the hostages and step away from the glowy thing. A sound like cracking ice emanated from the creature. Laughter. Your species always resorts to demands before understanding the situation. So typically human. I understand enough, Alex replied, charging energy into his gauntlets. You're consuming this world and its people. That ends now. The Shadow Lord gestured languidly, and the energy around the heart pulsed brighter. This artifact is wasted on your kind. Do you even comprehend what it truly is? What it could offer someone worthy? Enlighten us, Varia said, her weapon trained on the creature. It is a fragment of pure creation, the Shadow Lord explained, its voice almost reverent. A piece of the energy that birthed this universe. Your ancestors stole it from the spaces between realities, my domain, and used it to build their golden age. Alex felt the armor confirming this information, ancient knowledge flowing through the neural interface. They didn't steal it. They found it and protected it from beings like you who would corrupt it. Semantics, the creature dismissed. The important question is what happens now. It turned its void face toward Alex. The armor has chosen you, human, and it recognizes your potential. But I can offer you so much more. The shadows around the Shadow Lord shifted, forming images. Alex in command of vast fleets, worlds bowing before him, power beyond imagination. Join me, the creature continued. The armor is merely a shell of what it could be. With the heart's power channeled through it, you could become a god among mortals. Why protect one insignificant world when you could rule 1,000? Alex felt something cold and slithering at the edges of his consciousness. The Shadow Lord attempting to influence him through the armor's neural link. More disturbing was the way part of him responded to the offer, a whisper of temptation that the armor itself seemed to amplify. Alex! Varia's voice cut through his thoughts. The armor responds to your desires. Be careful what you wish for. He looked at her, really looked, and saw fear in her luminous golden eyes. Not fear of the Shadow Lord, but fear for him. The connection they had formed during the ritual allowed her to sense the darkness testing his resolve. Alex focused on Varia's face as an anchor against the temptation. He thought about the civilians they'd saved, the connection they'd formed, the promise of something more when this was over. You know, he said to the Shadow Lord, I've been offered promotions before. They usually come with better dental plans, not just empty promises of godhood. I'll pass. The Shadow Lord's form rippled with irritation. You would reject ultimate power for what? This insignificant world? This female? Alex smiled beneath his helmet. For them, for her, for me. And mostly because you seem like a terrible boss with awful benefits. With that, he launched forward with explosive speed, channeling energy through the armor in a way he hadn't attempted before. Instead of projecting it outward as a weapon, he created a disruption field around himself, a counter-frequency to the Shadow Lord's dark energy. The creatures shrieked as Alex collided with it, their energies clashing in a spectacular display of light and shadow. The armor's systems strained under the assault, warnings flashing across Alex's vision, but he pressed the attack. Meanwhile, Varia darted around the perimeter of the room, firing precise shots that severed the energy tendrils, connecting the hostages to the Shadow Lord's feeding system. One by one, the cocoons dissolved, dropping the weakened Zephyrians to the floor. Get them out! Alex shouted as he grappled with the increasingly frantic Shadow Lord. As the last hostage was removed from the throne room, the Shadow Lord broke free from Alex's grip, retreating to hover protectively over the exposed heart. Fool, it hissed, its form less stable now. You could have shared in its power. Now you will witness it corrupted and turned against everything you love. The creature plunged spectral hands into the crystal, which began to darken from brilliant blue to a sickly purple. The entire palace shuddered as the heart's energy was perverted. Alex, Varia called out. The armor was designed to resonate with the heart. You need to establish a connection before it's fully corrupted. He tried to approach, but the Shadow Lord created a barrier of pure darkness around itself and the heart. Each time Alex touched it, pain lanced through the armor's neural interface. You cannot stop this transformation, the Shadow Lord gloated. Soon the heart will power a rift large enough to bring my entire legion to this world. Zephyria will be just the first to fall. Varia appeared at Alex's side, her face set with determination. There's another way, she said quietly. The ritual we performed. It created a bond that might be strong enough to purify the heart. What are you suggesting? The armor responds to emotional energy, she explained rapidly. What we shared in the temple was powerful, But we can create an even stronger resonance if we focus on that connection, while you attempt to link with the heart. Alex understood immediately. We use our bond to overwhelm the corruption. She nodded, a slight smile touching her lips despite the dire situation. It's rather poetic, isn't it? Love against the void. Is that what this is? He asked, suddenly needing to hear her say it. What else would you call it? She replied, her eyes holding his through the helmet's visor. Now focus on what we shared, what we feel. Let it flow through the armor. He closed his eyes, concentrating on the connection they'd formed. Not just the physical intimacy, but the deeper bond that had grown between them. Trust, respect, and yes, love. The armor responded, its energy signature changing, becoming warmer, more vibrant. It's working, Varya whispered. Now reach for the heart. Alex extended his hand toward the barrier again, but this time instead of pain, he felt the darkness parting before him, unable to withstand the purified energy flowing through the armor. His armored hand closed around the partially corrupted heart, establishing a direct connection. No, the creature howled. You cannot comprehend its power. It will destroy you both. But as energy surged between the heart and the armor, Alex felt only a sense of rightness, of completion. With Varya at his side, her hand on his shoulder strengthening their bond, he knew exactly what needed to be done. You're wrong, he told the Shadow Lord calmly. We understand its power perfectly. It's not about domination. It's about connection. As Alex's hand closed around the heart of Zephyria, time seemed to slow. The partially corrupted crystal pulsed against his palm, its energy flowing into the armor and through his body. What had been pain when he first approached now felt like pure power, raw, primal, and almost overwhelming. Hold on to me, Varya whispered, her hands gripping his shoulders from behind. Don't let go of our connection. The Shadow Lord thrashed against the energy field forming around them, its shadowy form beginning to disintegrate where it touched the purifying light. This is impossible, it shrieked. No mortal can channel the heart's power without being conned. But Alex wasn't channeling it alone. Varya's presence anchored him, their bond creating a perfect conduit for the heart's energy to flow through without destroying him. The armor responded to this synergy, its ancient systems reconfiguring, evolving into something new. Blue-white light erupted from every seam in the armor, bathing the throne room in brilliant radiance. The corrupted portions of the heart began to clear, darkness retreating before the combined power of human determination and Zephyrian wisdom. What's happening? Alex gasped as the armor shifted around him, becoming lighter yet stronger, the neural interface deepening until he could barely distinguish where he ended and the suit began. The armor is transforming, Varya answered, her voice filled with wonder, becoming what it was always meant to be, the Guardian. The transformation completed with a final pulse of energy that sent the Shadow Lord reeling backward. When the light faded, Alex stood transformed. The armor now gleamed with an inner light, intricate patterns of energy flowing across its surface like living circuitry. At its center, where the breastplate covered his heart, the armor had incorporated a fragment of the heart itself, glowing with pure blue radiance. No, the Shadow Lord hissed, its form diminishing as it retreated. The Guardian was destroyed millennia ago. Not destroyed, Alex replied, his voice resonating with new authority. Just taking a really long nap until the right wake-up call. He extended his hand, and energy surged forth, not as a destructive beam, but as a net of pure light that enveloped the Shadow Lord. The creature writhed within the energy web, its darkness being systematically unraveled. You cannot banish me forever, it snarled. My kind will always find a way through the rifts. About those rifts, Alex said calmly. Through the armor's enhanced systems, He could now perceive the dimensional tiers the shadows used to enter Zephyria's reality. Not just the large one the Shadow Lord had created, but dozens of smaller ones scattered across the planet. "Varia," he said, "I need you to maintain our connection. This is going to take everything we have." She moved to stand before him, placing her hands directly on the glowing fragment embedded in his breastplate. "Whatever you need, I'm here." Their eyes met through his visor, and in that moment, everything else faded away. The battle, the throne room, even the armor itself. There was only their connection, deeper now than mere physical intimacy. A true melding of spirits. Drawing on their connection, Alex activated the Guardian's primary function. Energy exploded outward from the armor in a spherical wave that encompassed the entire planet. Where it touched the dimensional rifts, they began to seal, their edges knitting together like healing wounds. The Shadow Lord gave a final despairing cry, as its connection to its home dimension was severed. Without that link, its form could not maintain cohesion in this reality. It collapsed in on itself, dissolving into harmless particles that scattered across the throne room floor. When the last rift sealed, Alex fell to his knees, the armor systems temporarily overwhelmed. Varia knelt beside him, her turquoise skin flushed with exertion. "You did it," she breathed. "All the rifts are closed." "We did it," he corrected, the helmet retracting to reveal his face. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." She smiled, tracing the line of his jaw with gentle fingers. "The prophecy never mentioned what happens after the Guardian saves the world." "I guess we get to write that part ourselves," he replied, catching her hand and pressing a kiss to her palm. 3 months later, Alex stood on the balcony of the royal palace, watching the sunset over a rebuilt city. The armor, or the Guardian as it was now known, had become a part of him in ways he was still discovering. It could be summoned or dismissed at will, though the fragment of the heart remained embedded in his chest, a permanent reminder of his connection to this world. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. He didn't need to turn to know it was Varia. The heart fragment pulsed warmly whenever she was near, responding to their bond. "The Federation envoy has departed," she said, joining him at the railing. "They seemed quite satisfied with our new treaty." Alex nodded. "They should be. Exclusive trading rights with Zephyria in exchange for military protection is more than fair. And they accepted your resignation without argument," she added, a note of surprise still in her voice. "They didn't have much choice," he chuckled. "Not after I demonstrated what the Guardian can do. Besides, they're getting a permanent human ambassador to Zephyria out of the deal." "Is that all they're getting?" Varia asked, her golden eyes twinkling mischievously. Alex turned to face her fully. She wore formal Zephyrian robes today, her silver blue hair elaborately braided with ceremonial crystals that caught the dying sunlight. "Queen Varia," he said with exaggerated formality, "are you implying that my diplomatic skills aren't enough of a bargaining chip?" She stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. "I'm implying, Commander Reed, that the Federation is getting far more than they realize. A direct line to the Guardian of Zephyria, the man who sealed the dimensional rifts. And," she paused, her expression softening, "my future consort. I still can't believe you convinced your council to accept a human as royal consort," he murmured against her hair. "After what you did, they would have been fools to object." She pulled back slightly to meet his eyes. "Besides, the genetic compatibility our scientists discovered was rather convincing evidence that our union is cosmically ordained." "Is that what we're calling it now?" he teased. "Cosmic ordination?" "Would you prefer a joke that awakened hidden powers?" she countered. "Because technically, that's still accurate." "Best practical joke in galactic history," Alex laughed, pulling her closer. She rose on her toes to kiss him, a gesture she'd adopted from human custom and thoroughly embraced. As long as I'm the only princess making such suggestions. You're the only princess for me, he assured her. Guardian's honor. As the last light of day faded from the sky, they remained on the balcony, wrapped in each other's arms. No longer just a human warrior and an alien queen, but partners in every sense. Guardians of a world and architects of a future neither could have imagined when a diplomatic mission brought them together. In the distance, the first stars appeared, no longer harbingers of darkness and fear, but symbols of possibility and connection. Somewhere out there, Earth continued its own journey through the cosmos, now linked to Zephyria not just through Alex, but through the ancient bloodline they'd rediscovered. Two worlds once separated by vast gulfs of space and understanding, now bound together by the most powerful force in any universe, a connection that had begun with a simple invitation to try on a dusty suit of armor and ended with the salvation of a world and the union of two hearts across the stars.